Okay. Um, Today we are streaming Factorio. Sorry I'm a little bit late. I've been having some technical issues. Um, Factorio is a strategy, simulation, survival, logistics, and crafting game. Um, I like these kinds of games quite a bit. Factorio is a little old school. I think they did a final release within the last maybe 6 months, but it's been in development and early access for quite a few years. Um, my play style is relatively non-confrontational, so I will set up my game so that the combat with the native life form happens later in the game when I'm more well established. Um, and I will set up things so that the processes that you have to wait for are a little bit less, uh, that the wait is a little bit shorter. But I'm not going to use any mods or cheats to make that happen. I'm basically just going to tweak the frequency and richness of resources that are available. Um, and we'll see where that goes from there. I do want to warn you that Factorio is a long haul, so we're not likely to make a ton of progress in the first hour, but at least I can start the base and get things going. The winning condition for the game is to be able to get a factory that uh, can crank out rocket ships that can get you off of the planet that you've crashed into. Um, But there's also play that can happen afterwards. And in the middle to late game, I will probably be building what's called a bus configuration where you have your factory create resources and put them on a um, collection of conveyor belts that are sort of densely packed and configured so that you can get things on and off them relatively easy. I like that design because it's more efficient, but there are other ways to handle the design and layout of your base, and we can talk about that as we go. So I'm going to start now with the configuration and see where it goes from there. So, single player, new game, free play. So I'm going to make the frequency of patches and the richness high. I'll leave the size where it is. I think big patches can be a little harder to deal with in some ways, but they're also easier. I guess it really depends, but we'll just go with it. Um, in terrain, I don't usually do this, but I'm going to leave the cliffs. Cliffs can help with defense, but they also get in the way of a sort of beautifully dense and efficient factory. You have to route uh, conveyor belts around them and power lines over them. Um, you can blow up cliffs and flatten the land, which I may choose to do, but I'll just leave it here for now. Trees help fight pollution. Pollution draws aliens. Um, Water provides a natural barrier, and you also need water to power your power stations. Your power usually comes from steam and turbines. In the early game, you build steam engines In the later game, you can build nuclear reactors that provide the heat, but you're still running the steam. You're still boiling water and running that steam through turbines to actually create the power. So you need water around. I'll leave the moisture and the terrain type on default as well. For enemy, I am going to allow enemy bases. I'm not going to put it in peaceful mode, but I am going to make the starting area size as big as possible. And I'm also going to, I think I'll just leave enemy expansion the way it is and evolution the way it is and hope that it doesn't kick my butt. And um, I'll leave pollution the way it is too. I actually usually reduce the enemy expansion and evolution coefficients and uh, increase tree handling pollution and decrease pollution growth. But I'm going to leave it the way it is and see if I can manage to survive anyway. I think I can. So I'm going to start play. So when you start at a crashed area. Um, the tutorial will remind me to do things as I play, which I may or may not do depending on how I feel about it. Okay, let's see here. Okay. Um, blah, 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 Factorio replay. Yep, yep, yep. Okay. So you zoom in and out with the mouse wheel. When something is surrounded with these yellow brackets or outline, it usually means that you can harvest it. So you can right click it, and then you can see a progress bar pop up that eventually consumes that resource. Red means that you can harvest it, but you're not close enough. As you get closer, it turns yellow, and you can harvest it. This is a surface rock, so once you harvest it, it disappears. But if you look at your inventory, you can see that you have some stone now that you got from doing that. And then on the start only, there are all these sort of crashed spaceship pieces that you can harvest to clear out the terrain and your starting point, and that will help you set up in the early game. Usually with iron plate and maybe other resources. Sometimes with the smaller ship parts, it really just doesn't get you anything besides clearing out the ground so that you have an easier time building stuff. Okay, so we started in an area that basically has forest, and then you can see down in the lower right is a patch of stone and two patches of coal. And then off to the extreme right edge, you can see a couple of patches of iron ore. And if you look in the mini map in the upper right corner, you can see a little bit further out with lower resolution. My character's name is Perigee, so it's in the center. But you can see, if you're practiced, some patches of copper, which are copper colored. You can see the body of water that's north of my character, and my character is actually on the left edge of the name. And then the other thing that's available is the actual map, which you get to with the M key. and that you can zoom in and out of. And later on, I'll show you how you can make it more real time. But this is the limited extent of the sensors that are built into your spacesuit, essentially. So stone, coal, iron, copper, these wavy things are the cliffs. Um, you can see the speckles of bright green are trees, which you can harvest for wood, which you need in the early game. And then this is crude oil, which you can use to make plastics later on in the game. Okay, so the first thing is, so you look if you look at your inventory, you start out with a burner mining drill, which is powered by coal. Stone furnace, also powered by coal. I think you can also power it with wood and other things that look like fuel, but I tend to try to use the coal. The stone, which I got from harvesting that one boulder that was on the surface, and 8 iron plates, which I got from harvesting the crashed spaceship. Iron plate is one of the most ubiquitous and constantly used uh, resources for crafting things that you need to build your factory slash civilization. Um, and it is often the primary thing that people harvest after coal. Coal is usually the first, and then iron is usually the second. Although sometimes people will harvest stone as a higher priority than iron. It kind of depends. It's also sort of a chicken and egg in that you need both to really jumpstart the factory. The other thing is you have these quick bars here down on the bottom. Um, you can put things in there, and if you can only do it when you have them in inventory, but once you have them, if you use them up, they still show in the quick bar, but they're very faded out and gray to indicate that you don't have any and that you need to make more in order to be able to use them from the quick bar. So in the early game, I usually put the burner um, drill and the furnace in the quick bar. And so what you do is you left click on the item, you drag it down to where you want it in the quick bar, you left click it again to place it there, and to stop holding that one item, you right click. I'm sorry, you right click while you're not in the quick bar. On the In the inventory section, you can see what you're holding is on the left and what you can make is on the right. Uh, the stuff that's grayed out or faded out on the right is stuff that you don't have enough resources to make. The stuff that is fully colored and has a number associated with it in the lower right means that you have the resources you need to make whatever number of those things are that's displayed in the lower right. And there's the logistics tab, the production tab, the intermediate products tab, which is stuff that you can make that doesn't necessarily have a direct use, but can be used to make other things. And then the combat tab, which is stuff that you need to fight enemies or that has a military purpose, like this radar. I mean, honestly, the radar is a very generic use, but I guess its most direct use is combat related. It helps in that it helps direct visibility through the map without having to go to something. And that is the way that you make the M command map expanded and more detailed and more real time, is to distribute, create radar and build it and power it in a sort of a large grid around your building area. to increase map usability. Okay, so you can see I'm very tiny in the center of the screen, so I'm going to zoom in and head towards this patch of coal, iron, and rock. And there are two ways to craft things. You can craft things with your character in general, with some exceptions, and then you can also craft things with machines. You can also harvest things with machines, move things around with machines, and so on. I am going to get started my priority is mine coal, make the coal self-sustaining, then mine, I don't know, I think I'll do iron first, and then rock, and then copper, and then I will start trying to automate and use conveyor belts to make it all more efficient. So there's less stuff that I'm doing and more stuff that machines are doing. So the first thing that I want to do then, I think, is I'm going to start with iron first because that will help power my ability to harvest coal more automatically. So this is the coal burning drill. So I'm going to put it on top of a patch of iron. It's a 2x2 patch for this drill. And if you look under the expected resources text here, you can see the richness of the 2x2 grid that the drill is on. Since the drill is just going to be here temporarily, it doesn't matter that much. But you can see on the edge of the patch, the yield is significantly lower than in the middle. So the middle, like I can see typically around 10K or 15K on the edge, even covering for iron patches, it's only like 2.5K. So I'm going to just put it on the extreme edge. The flashy red icon means that it needs fuel. And I just toggled the Option or Alt key to tell me what's inside of things. Right now there's nothing inside of this, so I'm not going to see that. And then I'm also going to put this furnace where the yellow arrow is pointing. So that means that when the drill drills iron ore, it puts it in the furnace, and the furnace will melt or smelt it into iron plate, which then I can use to build other machines. So now to power this, I need coal. So I'm going to go over to the coal patch and hover over one of the edge parts and just start holding down right click. And my goal here is I want to get like maybe 10 coal total, which you can see in the parenthesis to the right of the +1 coal status thing. Okay, so that's 10. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to left click the furnace. I'm going to right click the coal to select half of the stack, and I'm going to stick it in the fuel slot. So you can see that the fuel alert is gone, and then I'm going to left click the burner drill and just left click the 5 coal and stick it in the fuel slot. So now the burner drill is actually mining iron ore. You can see that it's doing it repeatedly. This green progress bar is counting out each, as it goes from 0 to 100%, that's each iron ore piece. And it'll just keep doing that until it runs out of fuel or runs out of iron ore beneath it. And it's going to run out of fuel much quicker. You can see that it's already burning I think it's burning piece 4, and it's about to start burning piece 3, and then there'll only be 2 left. So that's how that goes. And then if you look at the furnace, it's actually accumulating iron plate. It's got 12 pieces, and it's burning coal, but not nearly as quickly as the burning drill is. So I'm going to go manually mine more coal. Actually, I'm not going to. I'm going to take this iron plate. So what I did there is that I hovered over it, I held down Shift, and I left-clicked the iron plate to add it to my inventory, which now you can see I have 27 iron plate. Now I'm going to open my inventory, look at the production tab, and see how many burning mining drills I can make. And my goal is to make at least 2, so I'm just going to make 2 right now. And to make 1 at a time, I hover over the crafting slot that I want, and I left click once for each one I want. So I'm going to left click once and left click again. And you can see down here that I have a building queue, and I've already built one of the drills. And now the second. See, it updated the quick bars. So I'm going to close inventory with E, and then I'm going to left click the burning drills. And then this is a trick. And again, it's sort of short term because I'm actually going to try to get out of the burning drill market and into electric drills as soon as I can. But for now, I'm going to put 1 burning drill here and another one pointing to it. And I'm going to take 1 more coal, and I just need 1 to start these 2. Because what I'll do is I'll put the coal in one of them, and it will dig and put coal in another, and they will feed each other while continuing to dig and fill their inventory, and they'll keep going, first filling up. Well, actually, always. They're filling up the fuel slot in the other, and they will keep doing that until they reach 50 in each one. And if you want, let me go here and get more iron plate and build 2 more. If you want, you can make this not just a back and forth between 2, but any kind of loop. So I'll show you that here. So I can do this one, and I'm rotating the drill with the R key, just so you can see where the arrows are going. And then this should still go down, but this one, all I need to do is hover over it while it's in yellow, use the R key to rotate it into the drill on its left, and now it's a loop. And now each one is going to build up to 50 coal here before they stop. So this is an easy early game way of drilling and accumulating coal. And then the other thing to know is that while you're just standing outside of whatever mechanism, especially the smelters and the miners and the chests and stuff like that, you don't have to open it to take this coal. You can hold down the control key and click it. And now I have 71 coal total. So that is self-sustaining and easy to get coal from. It's just not that convenient as you build your factory and it gets big and wild, but for now it's super convenient. And now that I have that coal, I'm going to put it into these 2, and I can use control click to do it. So while I'm holding coal, if I want to feed the burning drill, I hold down control and I left click. And the same for the furnace. If I want to feed it coal, I hold down control and I left click. And you could see that the coal that I was holding was a number on the lower right of my cursor. Um, so I know that I put 50 in the drill and I put 21 in the furnace. And you can verify that by looking. It's already, the drill's already used some of the coal, but it's at 48. And the furnace is already, it was holding some coal and it added my 21 and started using it right away. So it's at 22 now. So this loop of drills that's harvesting the coal is self-sustaining. And what I mean by that is even though I completely emptied it out of all the stored coal, at least one of these was still holding coal as fuel that it had not consumed. So it still repopulated all of them with coal and they started going again, even though I emptied them out completely. So I'm going to do that again. Boop, 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 boop. And now I have 101. And because I have 4 drills here, the maximum should be 200, since each one holds 50. I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to take the iron plate and I am going to build more drills. Now the reason that I can't is if you hover over that drill, you can see all the components involved. And one of the components for a burning drill is a furnace. And a furnace requires stone. So you can see that I have the 9 total raw iron plates that I need, but I don't have any of the 5 total stone that I need. So now the reason that stone is important is that I have to go and manually harvest stone for a while. So I'm going to do that. I think I'll get 10, which is good for 2 more furnaces, or 2 more drills, pardon me. And I just overmined. That's fine, I'll use that later. Okay, and then if I look at the drill situation, I've got 2 more that I can build. I'm going to take the opportunity to fuel up my iron smelting system. If you're still carrying stuff and you don't want to use it, you can use the Q key to stop carrying it. So now they're both at around 50 fuel. And these guys are around 30, 20, 29? Yeah. Okay, so let's see. I want to take this drill over here. And then the other thing I want is actually a place to store the stone. So you can smelt stone. It's for making things like stone walls, but I don't need it right now because I don't have any alien menace to defend against. So right now, my use of stone is going to be for more furnaces. So I'm just going to harvest and keep the raw stone instead of processing it further. So I've got the 2 drills. I'm just going to use one for this purpose, and it looks like I can afford to make 1 iron chest, so I'm going to do so. It's in my inventory. I'll move it into the quick bar because I might need it later. I will need it later, and I might need to build more of them later, so it's just more convenient to have it in the quick bar. So I'm going to place a drill here. I'm going to place a chest where the arrow is pointing. And then I already have fuel, so I'm going to take that fuel, I'm going to fuel up this drill. And then in a second or two, you can see the chest. We should be able to see the chest. Did I turn it off? I did. Okay. I just enabled the display of things in containers with the Alt key or the Option key on the Mac. And it's a toggle, so you can just turn it on and off. But I usually play it with it on to remind myself of what things are doing. So this tells me that this drill is filling this chest with raw stone. And if I left click it, I can verify over here on the chest side that the number of stone in it is slowly building up. And I'm just going to snatch it from here with a shift click because I'm going to need it to make more stuff soon. So the next priority for me, I think, is to do the same that I'm doing here for steel, but do it for copper, because copper is also required for a bunch of stuff. I already have one furnace over here in inventory, so I'm gonna build one. Sorry, I have one drill. I'm gonna build one furnace, right? Yes. So over here is the copper patch. There's a tree here which I'm going to cut down for wood. And then I'm going to use the copper patch to harvest copper and smelt it. Now, I am sort of building towards my left because my center of industry is kind of over here. So the one thing I wanted to say is that it is possible to build drills in places where they harvest more than one thing. It's generally something you want to avoid until you have the hardware to filter, which I don't right now. So instead, I'm going to make sure that the drill is just on copper resources and not on copper and coal or copper and coal and iron or copper and iron. So the leftmost or the westmost place I can place it is here, so I'll put it here. And then I'm going to put the furnace right next to it. And then I'm going to go back over here for more coal. And then I'm going to take that coal from my inventory and I'm going to feed it to both the drill and the furnace. Okay, so that's sort of the basics. The next step is to automate these resources. So I'm not playing a speedrun game. In a speedrun game, people make hundreds of these kinds of setups or make setups that are as long as the patch is wide, or they completely cover the coal patch with these drills, these simple ones, to just generate just an absolute ton of resources. I'm not going to do that because I'm going to play this more slowly and casually. But it's important to be aware of how people play, I think, just in general. I have coal, iron, and stone that are drilling and smelting as I need. So that's good. That's a good baseline. I can build a lab, but it needs electricity to work. A lab will process research packs and unlock technologies. Right now, I can only make red research packs, but there are lots of other colors and sort of functions for research packs, which I'll talk about later. I cannot build. So in here, In the production tab, you can see this thing in the production tab that I'm pointing at now is a factory or a crafting machine or whatever. That's what you need to automate assembling resources into other resources. Um, so this could potentially do the recipe that creates the electric mining drill. I just have to feed it all of the resources it needs and give it a place to put the drills that it creates. And that is something that I will do later, but I simply don't have the resources or the technology to do it right now. What I do have the technology for is to create a basic electrical system, and I think I may have time. So I'm going to try that um, and see how far I get um, so that I can start transitioning from coal burning mining and drilling to electrical mining and drilling. And I will play an extra 10 minutes or so since it took me a few minutes more to start the stream. So I need for electrical power, the generators need at least one boiler, probably a couple of um, steam engines, uh, a few uh, iron pipes, one offshore pump, oops, and then to transmit the power, I need a bunch of uh, small electric poles. So that needs iron, it needs stone, it needs copper, it needs wood. So let's get going with what we have. So I'm going to use the control click to take copper out of that furnace, to take iron out of this furnace, to take stone out of this chest. You can see that I have all of that now in my inventory. I'm going to harvest coal from the coal miners and I'm going to distribute it to the machines that are currently doing the work with control click. Just to keep the building going. You can see I have plenty of coal left after that. I am going to build one offshore pump. Uh, I'm going to build what I can do. I can do three. I'll do two steam engines, one boiler, and then as many pipes as I can, and as many power poles as I can. So you can see that having done that and built, put all that in my queue, I still have a bunch of coal left and a bunch of stone left. So just as a note, I don't need to get any stone and coal until I actually run out. For the offshore pump, I need to go to the source of water. I'm going back to where I started, which is this lake. I'm going to look at the terrain a little bit. So I'm zooming out of the real-time view to the max. It looks like a good place to build a power station is in this area. So I'm going to put my first offshore pump right about where my cursor is. I don't think I can quite do it there because it's sort of a pointy thing, but I think I can probably put it here. So let me populate the quick bar with power producing stuff. I'm going to use row 2 for that. And to start, I'm going to have to put coal into the boiler. You don't have to power the offshore pump, which is a little weird, but you do have to put coal in the pump, and you need to get the steam, coal in the boiler, and you need to get the steam that it generates out into a steam engine, and then you need to draw power from that steam engine with electric poles in order to have a functioning power system. The other thing that I want actually is one electric drill, and the reason is your power system doesn't work until something is actually drawing power from it. So that would be the first thing to draw power from it, and I'm actually going to set up an electric drill to bring coal back to the power station. So the first sort of device that the power station is going to power is the coal drill that will fuel the power station. It's a little silly, but you know, that's how industry works too. So I placed the water pump, the offshore pump. I'm gonna use pipe to offset the water where it starts from the shore, because you can see it's a little uneven, and I sort of want to standardize the line at which I start doing stuff. I went a little too far for my taste, so I'm actually using the right mouse button to click and demolish some of the pipes that I had here. But I am going to build some room to have power stations on both sides of where the pump is coming in. The other thing to know is that you can't walk through pipes, you have to walk around them. And one of the fixes for that is underground pipes. But underground pipes are expensive, so I'm not going to use those right away. You need 10 overground pipes to make one underground pipe. This is the first boiler. I'm placing it here so that the water goes into the water ports on the boiler. And this is what you have to pay attention to in Factorio is these little icons show you where resources need to go in and where they come out of in each sort of machine. In the mine, the drills, you saw a yellow arrow, and that was showing where the drill's output was going. In this boiler's case, there's a blue arrow for where the steam is going out of the boiler. So the thing that it's missing is fuel, so I have to provide that manually. So I'm going to hold it and do Control click. So now you can see that the boiler is actually boiling. And if you hover over it, you can see that it has 200 water of 200. It was consuming water, but now that it's full of steam and not sending that steam out, it stopped working and stopped consuming. So it's got 48 fuel right now. I'll need to top it up later. And then I need to get the steam, and I'm going to do this 2, 3 steps away. The reason for that is I like to put underground pipes. I like to do the one that goes underground here, a gap here, and comes up again here. So I'm doing this so that I don't have to move things around once I replace these pipes with underground pipes. And an underground pipe, the part that the gap is, I'll be able to cross it. So then I put the steam engine here. You can see When it's red, I can't place it. When it's green, I can. So that's in connection with the steam pipe coming out of the boiler. And the reason that it is got a blinking yellow icon on it is not because there's any particular problem with how it's set up, but because I'm not drawing power from it. So I'm going to do another 3 here and another steam engine here. And then I created these electric poles. It's not enough, but it'll give us a start. I'm going to put the electric poles, I usually just try to put them regularly along the furnaces, or sorry, the engines. And you should be able to see it. There are these thin copper-colored lines in between the electric poles. That's the wire. If you try to put the pole too far away, you can see I have it here. I move it one more square, it's still there. I have it again. It's gone. It means that that's not a connection. So this is connected and that's not connected. Um, I'll tell you more about that later. But um, I usually try to put an electric pole right next to the boiler because I know that I will have a powered inserter soon that will insert coal into the boiler. And I don't want to put that here because that's directly blocking the water input or water flow line port. So I just move it one square up, and you can see that the powered area around the pole, which is highlighted in sort of teal right now and blue on the poles that I've already placed, reaches out to the square south of the boiler. So that's sort of the basic thing. Uh, there sort of technically is a power draw from the electric poles right now, so the yellow has gone away. But to have a real functioning electrical system, to have it actually doing stuff, you need to get the power down to the machines that are going to be using it. So I mentioned before that I wanted to get the first machine here, I wanted it to be coal so that the first machines will feed the power plant itself and keep the power plant running. The water is basically an inexhaustible supply. You can't really run out of water with an offshore pump. So we don't have to worry about that. But we do have to worry about the fuel that's in the boiler. So that's the next step. Let me just place these last 5 poles. The thing that I wanted to say about the poles is that if you left click on a pole that already exists, nothing will happen. But if you then hold the left click down while you move, I'm going to move east, the game automatically places the poles that you have at the furthest separation while still connected. So these efficiencies build up. You'll be doing this hundreds of thousands of times while you play until you have constructor robots that do it for you. So you need to learn the efficiencies as you go, or else the game will be even more tedious. And I know tedious is a super strong selling point for games. It's part of the logistics genre and management genre to have tedium be one of the challenges you have to overcome. So the goal of Factorio is to encourage you to build systems of logistics and production that prevent you from having to do all of the production manually on your character. So um, this electrical system is the first part of offloading the labor in the game from directly on my character through the inventory and crafting screen to machines that will do it for me while I am off doing and organizing other things. Okay, I need to go back. I need to check on the machines that I left doing stuff. I probably need to refuel them. So here they are. All right, so this one's doing okay fuel-wise. So is this. You can see it while you're hovering over them in the pop-up panels. This one's okay, and it's still populating this chest, and it has quite a while to go. Um, I'm just gonna top everything up with coal. Probably don't need that much. You can see it's taking a significant amount of my inventory now. I may even put it back in the miners, but we'll see. Yeah, I'll put it back in the miners. And I still have I still have one stack left in my inventory even after all that. I am going to go to all the furnaces, the two furnaces that I have, and empty them of the plate that they're making. So now I have coal, pipe, stone, iron, and copper. And I misinformed you. I think I said 50 was the max for these furnaces, but it's actually 100. You can see it basically just matches the stacks that I have in my inventory. So um, iron plates can be stacked to 100 per stack, stone to 50, coal to 50. So if you're looking at any particular stack in a machine, you can see the capacity. So this capacity is 50, this capacity is 100, and this capacity is 50. So there's a few things I need to do to build to make the electricity happen. One is power poles, which need wood. So I'm going to run around holding down the right mouse button with the cursor close to my character, um, so that I can harvest more wood from trees. I'm actually prioritizing trees that are on top of resource patches because those trees get in the way of the layout of automation. And maybe a few blocks out from the patch as well, just to get out of the way of future automation. So now that I have 77 and I have a significant amount of copper, I'm going to make a big old pile of power poles. I am going to make one inserter. Is it just one? I think it's just one. And then I'm going to make one electric drill. And then the last thing I'm going to make a pile of is these transport belts or conveyor belts. So you can see that my queue is now significant, and things are taking a little while because I don't have copper coils. I have to make the copper coils first, and then I can make the power poles after the copper coils. So you can see that there's the raw ingredient is the copper plate, but the actual ingredient to make the pole is the copper coil or copper cable, pardon me. Um, and that happens in the queue elsewhere too. So the inserter needs an iron gear, which it needs to make from iron plate. It needs copper cable, which it makes from copper plate. It needs a green circuit, which it makes from, uh, I think, iron plate and copper cable, and so on. So the game handles making those things when you're making them manually, and you have to handle making factories make each component so that you can make each part or each machine. But the one sort of bonus of making things on your own character is that all of those dependencies are handled automatically, whereas when you build the factory, you personally have to deal with making all of the components out of the raw materials and feeding those to the machines that make the more complex machines. Okay, I don't have enough transport belts to get me from the coal bed to the power station, but it's a start. I'm going to start at the power station and build towards the coal bed. So I need to make sure to remember the direction of flow on the transport belt. And I'm also just going to sort of set up for making those things happen as we go. So the first transport belt, or the last one, pardon me, um, should go here, and I'm going to make it go westerly. So I'm just going to spend all of these. I'm holding down. Do I need shift? I don't think I need shift. No, I don't need shift. I'm holding down the left mouse button. Green means I can build it. It's close enough. Red means there's something in the way. And ghostly yellow means I cannot. It's too far away from me. So I'm close enough to build this. I can get closer if I wanted to. It doesn't really matter. I hold down shift and I walk to the east. And that's as many as transport belts as I have. Earlier I built these power poles. I'm just going to sort of match how far my transport belt goes right now. And then I'm going to go back and build more transport belts and so on. But actually, the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm also going to put the inserter that I built where I want it. You can see the line, the yellow line, and the yellow arrow. The yellow arrow needs to go into the machine that I want the inserter to insert things into. The yellow line needs to be next to the conveyor belt or chest or area or other thing that is supplying the resource that the inserter is putting into the thing. So it's fine. It's in the power area that the power pole has, so it's ready to go once there's a need. The thing to know about the inserters is that they don't work, they don't start inserting things until the resources in the thing that they're inserting into is below a certain threshold. So it will appear not to work right now, even if there were coal on the conveyor belt, because there are 40, is it 40? Yeah, there are 40 coals in the burner. I think it's 10, it might be 5, we'll find out. Okay, so now that I have that set up, I'm going to go back and make more transport belts. So I need to get more iron and more. I don't know if I need more copper, but I at least need more iron to make more transport belts. And again, I'm just gonna use this pass to refuel things. Just to be safe, I'll take the copper and all this iron. And maybe just, I don't need any more stone. I'm good on stone. Um, so I'm going to build more conveyor belts. I'm resisting the temptation to build another coal burning steel, or sorry, iron mine and smelter setup. It would make more sense, but what I really want to do is convert to electrical mining as soon as possible, which will move the pollution largely uh, up to where the power station is. Eventually, I'll need to still build smelters, which will have their pollution tied to them, but at least in the very initial part of the game, I can keep the pollution centralized around the power station. Um, okay, so I have quite a few more conveyor belts. I'm going to make the conveyor belts go south now since I'm close to the coal as far as the horizontal positioning goes. And again, I'm building sort of backwards. The south ones need to be pointing their flow north, right? And I ran out again. Okay, go back. Fuel. Take. Build. To build all of what you can from a crafting resource, use Shift and click. This is part of the tedium too, is that since I only have one iron smelter, it's just going to take a little while to build all of the conveyor belts I need to make this happen. All right, so I'm actually going to start building forwards and meet in the middle. I think it's here. Oh, that was fortunately close. I just sort of ran out of things right where I needed to. I believe you get 2 conveyor belts per single item built. Almost connected. Okay, since it's almost connected, I am going to place my one electric drill and I'm going to put it here. Is that what I want? I feel like I want to hold out until, yeah. So see how close I am to the stone patch. I don't want to mine stone. So I am making sure that the expected resources where I am hovering show only coal. If I move 1 block to the west, you can see that it shows coal and stone. I don't want that situation. Later, it might be tolerable, but right now, it's just an interference. So I'm actually going to put it here. It doesn't have any power, so it's flashing the I need power sign. Uh, it will output directly to a transport belt, so I don't need to use an inserter to move it from the drill to the transport belt. So that's a blessing, because inserters are expensive. So that's that end. I'm gonna complete this. And then the last thing I need to do is then I need to make the power lines go all the way to the electric drill. So I'm actually gonna build out this way and then go south. You can see I've caused a problem here, and that the furthest I can place the power pole is right on top of the conveyor belt. Later on, there will be ways around that, but for now, I'm just going to build a little closer. Um, and then, let's see, I guess I'll go here, and then here, and then here, here. And I'm going to set up a pattern where I put the pole in the same place against each collection of electric drills, and I'll show you that later. But I've got coal going onto the conveyor or the transport belt from the electric drill, so I'm actually going to ride the transport belt with the first things of coal, just so that I know when the coal has reached the boiler on the transport belt. Then I'm going to make sure that the inserter works by taking the fuel out of the boiler and letting the inserter do that job. And then I will be done with this session of playing Factorio on Twitch. And then I will see you again on Friday. But this has actually been great. One of the things that I love about Twitch and streaming games is that um, having to articulate, having to talk about what I'm doing in a game and why I'm doing it helps me enjoy the game more, and helps me understand why I do things, and helps me engage with it better. At least that's how it feels. It makes me have a more enjoyable experience. And I hope that someone will join me soon and help me talk about it and ask me questions and suggest games that I should be playing. So here is the boiler. And as I told you before, because the boiler already has coal in it, the inserter's not doing anything. But let me go into the boiler and take away its coal. Now you can see the inserters picking up coal from the belt and sticking it in the boiler. It stopped again because it is stocking the boiler faster than the boiler is using up coal, but it is slowly reinserting coal every time the level goes below 5. So you can see the coal is being used up as the red line decreases. And as soon as it uses up this coal, the coal count goes down to 4. The inserter will move to insert another coal. Yep. And it begins again. So now the power station is self-sustaining. Um, this doesn't always hold true. When you have a complicated factory, you can sometimes end up bottoming out the supply and end up losing your power or underpowering your machines and losing your production rate. But we'll talk about that later. This is Malcolm signing off, and I hope to see you again on Friday, or I hope that you enjoy this stream and you watch the Friday one later. Thanks very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Take care.